Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via YouTube streaming, via Facebook streaming, and also via Skype. Rabita continues. It continues until it is like the process of osmosis, until the two solutions become of the same concentration. The process of osmosis continues. So too, the process of Rabita continues between the sheikh and the disciple until the two attain to the same level of concentration, same level of understanding, same level of awakening. A certain man decided to seek the perfect master. A certain man decided to seek the perfect master. This is a Sufi parable. Let me take a prelude to the parable that continues. Remember, knowledge is always interested in arguments. Such is the nature of knowledge. Knowledge is not interested in learning at all. In learning, it feels humiliated. That is why it becomes very difficult for a grown person to learn. The more grown up you are, less is the possibility for you to learn anything. A grown-up person knows much, but his capacity to learn is negligible. On the contrary, children know nothing, but their capacity to learn is tremendous and they learn very fast. Children are capable to learn very fast. Also, they learn very easily. When you have to learn after the age of 35, 40 or 50 years, it is very difficult. Almost impossible sometimes. You may wonder what happens to the intelligence of a grown-up person. After 40, 50 years of experience in the world, human intelligence needs to be sharper than before, but it is never so. In the process of life's journey, much dust or superfluous gathers on the layers of the mind. Intellect gets too much burdened, and then such a person feels really humiliated in learning anything, specifically from younger ones. Most of the time, this remains the conflict between youth and the old. The old wants the younger to learn from them, but you remember the technology has changed and it changes every 10 years. Whatever technology was available in your times is not available now. It is much more advanced. The younger people are much more versatile with that, but the older ones cannot learn from the younger ones. Knowledge cannot say, I do not know, and a disciple is the one who can say, I do not know. The difference. If the disciple is knowledgeable or seeking knowledge, then he cannot say that I do not know. All that I have known or gathered has not helped me to gain anything substantial in life. Therefore, I am ready to learn. This is very difficult for ego to say. This is very difficult for knowledge to say. I have not come here with any conclusions. I am empty. Fill me with thy awareness. I am empty. I have not come here with anything. My cup is empty. To say this or to reach this state of emptiness is almost difficult. Almost difficult, if not impossible. Once this has happened, the other process happens without any effort. The real search is to seek the disciple in you. The real search implies how empty the cup of your being is. How empty the cup of your being is. So when you come across anyone who is overflowing with God, you can be fulfilled. You can be filled. Fill your heart's content. Strangely enough, everyone is searching for a master. And in this search, each is looking for a brand name, a label, number of disciples, everything outer, but none of such people ever search for the disciplehood within. Are they really a disciple within? Disciplehood is a pole. When you want your bulb to light, you need to have the two poles, the positive and the negative. One comes from the outside, the other is generated from within the body itself. And without these two, you cannot have the bulb lit. So everyone is looking for a brand name, number of disciples, everything outer, but none of such people ever search the disciplehood in them. So they go on missing the master. Then you will come across many people, but still you will feel unsatisfied. The reason for this does not exist on the surface. Instead, it comes from your own mind. Let me tell you something about a Hasid mystic, Levi Isaac. He was a beautiful Hasid master. He was so full of God that songs and dance of God overflowed whenever he worshipped or prayed. While worshipping or praying, he used to get so intoxicated that most of the time he would go wild. So it is said that he simply radiated the divine dance in its total wildness. He always worshipped with so much passion that people used to get frightened and move away each time. If he was worshipping in a temple, people would escape, because while worshipping he will go wild. Nothing existed for him then. When he prayed, even he himself ceased to exist. Now if you come across with some preconceived idea about how a master should be, then Levi Isaac appears to you to be a madman. If you think a master should be dressed in a particular way, or he should be sitting still like a Buddha, then this man who is turning things upside down or running all over the place, or who has scared other seekers, other worshippers, will certainly not fulfill the criteria of a master. But Levi Isaac is the perfect master. God descends in many forms, sometimes as a Buddha, still, sometimes as Meera with the dancing bells, other times as Krishna, other times as Muhammad. And remember, God always comes in new forms. As a result, there is no meeting. Remember, all your conclusions are old and outdated. If you are born in a Buddhist family, then how can you think of a Hasid master to be a Buddha? It's almost impossible. If you have been born in an Islamic family, you expect God to appear in a particular way. Now, let me take the parable. This parable is unique and beautiful. Each parable centers on the Sufi masters of the past. Current master will use the anecdote of the past masters, past sheikhs as parables. They are unique because they know the art of saying things which cannot be said. Truth cannot be said directly. Saying directly is too aggressive. How can truth be expressed when you have not experienced it? Can you express something that you have not experienced. Even in ordinary life and inexperienced things cannot be told. Only words are conveyed. Truth is not fact. Truth is existential and it is an experience. And can only be experienced and then can be said in an indirect way. It can only be hinted at. You cannot be convinced of truth, only you can be persuaded into it. And the beauty of the Master is that he is not trying to convince you of truth. Instead, he is going to seduce you into truth. There is no other word except seduce to explain this. No other word. There is no other way except seduce to clearly explain the function of a master. By being in his presence, you get persuaded into it. If I have to put directly or correctly, a parable is seductive. Even those who are not searching for any truth may be suddenly struck by a parable. Something may suddenly get exploded. Also, people like stories. And stories have a tendency to hang around your consciousness. Stories have a tendency to hang around your consciousness. It is very difficult to forget them. Parables have a way of reaching to the deepest core of your being. Sufis have been using parables for ages. Let us not deviate from the present talk. What is a master? A certain man decided that he would seek the perfect master. What are the ways? Now, to decide is wrong. Remember, all decisions come from your past experiences. One cannot decide to seek a perfect master. One can only become available in a very impressive way. Seeking, decisions, etc. are all active ways. One has to be feminine, more alert, more watchful about what one is trying to do. Have you known a master before? Do you know the criteria what the master is like? And you remember, God never appears old, always appears as new. But Christians are thinking that Jesus is coming. For the past 2000 years they have been thinking that Jesus is coming. Do you think, what is the meaning of the word creative? Creative means every time we create something which is new. Have you any experience of master? Whatever you have heard of a master is borrowed. You are not certain. And you cannot at all be certain of its truth. So how are you going to decide? And how are you going to decide? And also, how are you going to seek a master? What are the criteria for judgment? How will you determine that this is really a perfect master? Are you capable of judging a perfect master? You may use your asinine criteria. If this be so, then you are certainly higher than the master. If you can judge a PhD scholar, that means you are higher than the PhD scholar and you don't need to go in his company. You are sitting in the seat of a judge. You are not humble or passive disciple. And remember, master happens only in your passivity, in your receptivity, in your simplicity. Remember, master happens only in your passivity, in your receptivity, in your simplicity. A certain man decided that he would seek the perfect master. And why are you seeking the perfect master? This is the way of ego. Always seeks perfection. If you are interested in money, ego wants you to be the richest man in the world. If you are seeking to be a moralist, ego wants you to be a perfect saint. Ego has the deep desire to be perfect. All egoistics are perfectionists, and all perfectionists remain neurotic. Perfection leads to schizophrenia. A humble man knows and accepts imperfection. A humble man never seeks or asks for the impossible. It is only ego that seeks the impossible. Why do you need a perfect master? Probably you seem to be seeking perfection in everything, as is the case with almost everyone. And anything less than that will not appeal to you. This is the way the life goes on. You need a perfect master, or a perfect master who is well recognized or internationally acclaimed. Ordinary masters would not do anything to you. The master has to be somewhat extraordinary. All this will satisfy your humble ego. And the paradox of life is that extraordinary happens in a most ordinary manner. A real man does not want to be superior to anyone else. He lives in a world beyond comparison, but the mind lives in comparison. The very idea of seeking a perfect master is based on comparison. A certain man decided that he would seek the perfect master. This is the story of each one of you. And if you are the person seeking the perfect master, what would you do? Gather information about the perfect master. So too this man did. And in the process, he read many books. How can you find a perfect master? By reading many books. By reading, you will become more and more stuffed with knowledge, and that will be the barrier. But this is what happens. Someone starts thinking of God, or truth, or beauty. He will start reading books, because everyone considers books to be the way to find all one is seeking, all one is looking for. This is normal and natural too, but truth cannot be contained in the words. I have heard an Indian poet, Rabita Tagore, once was thinking about beauty. He wanted to know what beauty is. A poet is always interested in beauty. He was concentrating on beauty. It was a full moon night. He was in his boat in the river Hooghly. The night was majestic. Full moon in the sky with its reflection in the river and in the surrounding plants on the bank. He was surrounded by the silence of the river and nearby forest. He was all alone in the boat. Occasionally a bird may call, and that was all. And afterwards silence will get deeper. Tagore was inside the boat pondering over the question, what is beauty? So he was looking into an ancient scripture. Tagore was seeking the wordless in the word, or the formless in the form. Only a small candle was lit in his cabin, and he was reading in that light, tired and frustrated as he was. It reached the middle of the night, and Rabindranath could not find anything on beauty in the scripture. Only words were there. He blew out the candle because he was tired and it was midnight. As he did so, he could not believe his eyes. Suddenly, as he blew out the candle, something majestic happened. From the window, from the door, from all corners, the moonlight just rushed in the cabin. Moonlight was already waiting to come in. He was transported into another world. He rushed out of the cabin. He looked at the moon and the silence of the night, the reflection of the moon on the river, the silvery river and the dense forest. On the bank, too, he looked at. This was beauty in all its splendor. Beauty surrounded him and he was seeking the beauty in the words, in the scriptures. All along he was searching in the books, but the beauty was waiting for him in all its glory and splendor. That small candle was preventing the splendor of the night. That small candle and its light is your ego, is your mind. He was so much engaged in the scripture that he had forgotten that it was full moon night. Ravindra threw the book in the river. That was the last time he ever thought about beauty. He said, thinking will not help when beauty is there. The beauty is surrounding you and you are thinking about it. You have to be available to it. The master is all around. You are seeking the master in a human being. The plants, the rivers, everything carries the signature of God, and godliness manifests. None so vile upon this earth that live. Everything has something good to give. You have to blow out the candle of ego. Once the candle of ego is blown out, beauty comes in many ways. And this is what happens. You start thinking of finding a perfect master. You will go to books to know how to find a perfect master. Now the books will confuse you. Each book will tell a different criteria. A Christian book only describes Jesus as the criteria. So too a Buddhist book will describe the qualities of Buddha as the criteria of a perfect master, so on and so forth. But none of these can describe in any way the qualities of a perfect master. These represent only the qualities of one of the manifestations of the perfect master, a Buddha or a Mahabir or a Jesus or a holy prophet or a Krishna or a Ram Krishna or Krishnamurti or anyone else for that matter. And once you start reading the books, your search is doomed to fail. You are already having a preconceived idea. Now you will be looking for a Buddha or a Jesus or a Raman or a Zarathustra or a Lao Tse. None of these can be repeated. History cannot repeat itself. God once is enough. Nothing is repeated in existence. Krishna happens only once. A Ram happens only once. A Jesus happens only once. So too Muhammad. God's creativity is infinite. This is why God is called the Creator. And you want Him to be something else. There can never be a repetition, so confusion is bound to happen. Your intelligence may join all the qualities that you create, your intelligence may join all the qualities and you will create your own image of a perfect master. With this, you will never find a perfect master. It is like taking one part of a donkey cart, another from the Rolls Royce, another from a plane, and then putting them together. I have seen a man riding his bicycle, but in front he put some parts of the car. From the front, it gives an appearance of a small car. Definitely you will have something strange, but it will not work. Even a donkey cart will be better. Howsoever slow, one thing is certain, riding it, you will certainly reach somewhere. But the monster that your imagination has created will not help. But this is what happens. A certain man decided to seek a perfect master, so he read many books. This happens. First, everyone seeks a perfect master. Nothing short of perfection will work. So he started reading the books. In the process, some will find books as repetition, and then the end of the journey, while others continue to read. So those who read many scriptures and books create an idea of the perfect master. And such idea is a mere combination of many characteristics. These are collected from different scriptures. It is impossible. Such a person is imaginary and does not exist. You are in fact searching for an illusion. This you will not find. Definitely you will come across many masters, but because of your own idea of a perfect master, you will go on rejecting them. You will go on missing. Because of your idea, you will go on missing. Not that perfect masters are not there. They are always there. The world is full of masters always. And remember, God is not miser. Jews say that only 36 masters in the world at any time, just 36. Has God become so miser? And only 36? Jews are still generous than other religions. Jains say that there are only 24 perfect masters in the whole creation, from the beginning to the end. So for millions of years, there was not a single master. Hindus are even more miser. They say only 10 incarnations. Christians are even more miser. They say God has only one begotten Son, Jesus Christ. So only these perfect masters, then how can you find one? Your search will be futile. God is generous. And this I say on my own experience. There is no fixed number of persons. Masters go on happening. Just people are blind and deaf. This hurts. To know that you are blind and deaf. This is why there are so many theories. Only 36, only 24, only 10, only 1. And if you are not finding a master, nothing can be done, because it is only once in a while that perfect master happens. Only once in a while that a perfect master happens. Just as roses are always available, lotus blossoms every day, sun rises every day, millions of stars adorn the sky. During the night, masters are always there, only you have to open your eyes. People go on thinking that perfect master used to happen only in the past, and now they will not happen. Why Hindus' incarnations have stopped happening? Has God stopped taking care of his creation? Then why does Krishna proclaim, whenever there is decline of righteousness, I rise from age to age? But Hindus have put a full stop on incarnations and perfect masters after 10. Same was the case in the time of Buddha. There are stories. They used to come to Buddha and inquire, are you the perfect master? People used to go and ask Jesus, "Are you the Messiah we are waiting for?" So when Jesus responded in affirmation, people were offended. Everyone thought, how could son of a carpenter go? Such questions have always been asked. During Buddha's time, it was said in the past there used to be perfect masters. It was very true in the times of Vedas and Upanishads. But now these days, how can there be a perfect master? A certain man decided to have a perfect master. So he read many books, visited sages one after the other, listened, discussed, practiced, and always found him doubting or unsure. How can you can read, you can discuss, you can become very logical. None of these things will help you, and your doubt will continue to persist. Nothing will happen until you experiment. Only experience will destroy the doubt. But how can you experience a master? To experience a master, you need to be a disciple. This is the first requirement. And what is the requirement of a disciple? Prayerfulness. Prayerfulness is the requirement of a disciple. Prayerfulness means a capacity to wait, capacity to be empty, capacity to surrender, capacity to be available. This is what prayer is. If you know how to pray, you will not only come to know a perfect master, instead you will come across God as well. Prayer creates God. Prayer creates a perfect master. Prayer prepares you for revelation. You should learn to pray. And once your prayer is complete, Master comes of its own accord. I repeat, Master comes of its own accord. Or he calls you forth whenever you are ready. When a master calls you, then the journey is totally different. When you are called forth by a master, not only the quality is different, instead the journey is easier as well. Not only the journey is different, you will feel you are not going. Instead you are being pulled. You know that now there is no way that you can resist. There is no way that you can escape. The pull of the master is irresistible. It is as if a strong magnet is pulling you. You are helpless. But you are thrilled that you are chosen. You come dancing and you feel fortunate to be chosen. Just start your preparation. Wherever you are, never ask if there is no perfect master. Then what is the point of preparation as a disciple? Perfect master always exists. Prayer is the radiation of being suddenly set afire. It is an infinite and purposeless direction. Introspect over these words. In the beginning, you do not know where your prayer is going. It has no address, no direction. You may ask how to pray to God. You do not even know God. This is why you are praying. Certainly you would like to know what God is, but you do not know. As a result, you are putting your heart out. On the contrary, the skeptical mind wants to ascertain first whether God exists or not. And if God exists only, then I will pray. The poet is right. She says, oh, but I know this morning, how far I am from those greedy ones who before praying asked whether God exists. We will pray only if God exists, says a skeptical. Then you will never pray. Remember, without praying, you will never know whether God exists or not. Normally, people make impossible conditions for praying. None of these conditions can be fulfilled. You go on praying and do not even ask if God exists. Prayer increases your quest. You go on praying and not even ask if God exists. In your quest, God is irrelevant at the moment. Just go on making the prayer possible. Just go on making the prayer possible. A prayer is the lament. A prayer is the song of the heart, but it is addressed to the unknown. Maybe he is, maybe he is not. But that is not the point. You should be joyous and ecstatic in pouring your heart out. This is joy unto itself. Prayer is primary, and the existence of God is secondary. Never forget, prayer is primary. It reveals God to you. It opens eyes. It opens the petals of your heart. It creates God. Suddenly everything becomes aflame with love. When you are aflame with love, you can see everything around you. Everything around you is divine. The process of Rabita continues. The communion between the master and the disciple continues until the two becomes of the same consistency. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again, we'll take care and do have a pleasant day.